You got what I want, got what I want. You give me just one look and you know I'm good to go. You know I'm good to go.
Thank you for joining Minds of Commercial Real Estate today. Today we have Brooklee Hahn. She is a prior professional figure skater and was in the Olympics in 2014. And today she is in the real estate world. Brooklee, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great, great. So tell us how you going from a professional figure skater and coming into the real estate world, the transition.
Absolutely. So it definitely is not a traditional trajectory, but yes, I competed in the 2014 Winter Olympics. I represented Australia. I have dual citizenship as my family is all from Australia. I competed through 2019, retired in 2019, and then went on to, pursue my education and finish my undergraduate degree. And after graduating, I was doing a lot of freelance work in journalism. I had kind of found journalism during my college career. I was obviously media trained and things like that, because of skating. And so I was exposed to that world a little bit, but definitely got more interested in it during college and university. I really loved the storytelling aspect of journalism. And I found that it was quite similar to, crafting a figure skating program. There are things that you have to have in a program, technical elements, and there's information and facts that you have to have in a story that you're writing. But, just doing the elements going end to end, it doesn't create a compelling performance, and just listing facts does not create a compelling read or an interesting read or something that captivates an audience's attention as a journalist. And so I love, finding ways to craft a story, embedding that important information that our audience needs, while still creating something artful. And so that parallel is kind of why I ended up in journalism and kind of how I found my way over there. But then, as I said, after graduation, I was doing a lot of freelance work, a lot of sports journalism, focusing on a variety of different athletics, but a lot with the Olympic movement. And I was looking for, a steady gig, basically. That freelance grind is tough for sure. And ended up at Housing Wire. I've been here over 3.5 years, going on 4 years. Definitely did not know a lot about the real estate world when I first entered. Had obviously seen my parents buy and sell, a couple properties throughout my lifetime, but I was definitely a newbie. I luckily ended up in the industry in a fairly quiet time. It was 2021. Yes, the market was super hot, but we didn't have, some of the major storylines and some of the really complex issues that we're seeing really percolate right now. Kind of jumped in and learned as much as I could, as quickly as I could, and haven't looked back since.
Very nice, very nice. So what typically do your articles, what do you write about?
So right now I am Housing Wire senior real estate reporter. So I cover some of the more complex issues. As of right now, I can't go a day seemingly without covering National Association of Realtors clear cooperation policy and some of the things going on with that, with Compass and Zillow and some of the major other major industry players. I also cover a lot of other companies, looking a lot at consolidation trends right now, a little bit at housing market trends and things like that, but mostly focused on kind of the agent experience in those markets or the broker experience in those markets, what agents are doing to help their clients navigate some of these challenges, and what they're doing to help themselves navigate these challenges, and then also what brokers are doing to assist agents make sure their business stays profitable, and things like that.
Let's go a little bit more in depth on, in terms of brokers and agents and how they're working with their clients today, obviously with the higher rates. Certain markets have lower inventory for sale. Some markets have more inventory for sale. What are you mainly seeing?
I mean, I feel like a lot of agents are still working to get their clients to just kind of adjust to the fact that mortgage rates are what they are. And yes, we would all love to see them drop to 6%, but that doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. And so I think a lot of it comes down to how agents and brokers are working to educate consumers on current conditions. So whether they're on the buy side or sell side, when they get into the market, they know what to expect and they're prepared to transact and prepared to, face the challenges that, their local market might pose to them.
Right now, with the new laws where the, seller does not have to pay both sides of the commission, what have you seen, the effects of that on the markets?
To be honest, we haven't seen a large impact. Today, actually, a study came out from Clever Real Estate and showing that commissions had actually gone up year over year compared to last year based on some of their data. Data that we have at Real Trends shows that commissions have more or less stayed kind of in line. They may have dropped slightly. Data from other sources like Anywhere Real Estate and Redfin kind of show similar trends. But for the most part, I know there was a big concern that home sellers would all of a sudden stop paying buy-side agent commissions, which a lot of folks, were thinking would greatly harm first-time home buyers or those who were struggling just to even put together a down payment. And that really hasn't happened yet. Even in super hot markets, agents are telling me that sellers are willing to cover at least some of the buy-side commission. It might not be everything that the buyer has negotiated with their agent, but it is at least, a significant portion of that percentage or that dollar amount the buyer and their agent has decided upon. And the buyer still obviously has the option to ask the seller to cover all of their agent's commission. That may harm their chances of their offer being accepted if they're in a super competitive environment, but it doesn't hurt to ask. So we're still seeing a lot of buyers asking for that full commission coverage in, offers they submit.
Got it. In today's market, obviously, there's not as many borrowers buying homes or selling homes, and there's a lot of agents. How are the agents, along with the brokers, going through the market, trying to get clients? And also, there's a lot of people can search for homes online without an agent, see what's available for sale. How are they choosing the agents?
Yeah. So obviously there are far more real estate agents currently licensed in the country than there are homes for sale. So there is tough competition between agents to get those listings and to get those clients. We are expecting to see a significant drop off in the number of realtors over the next few years. We're just seeing a lot of folks filter out of the industry. There have been significant decreases due to a lot of people, just deciding to retire early as, they looked at trying to navigate some of the National Association of Realtors Commission lawsuit business settlement business practice changes. There have been others just that aren't busy enough. Their market has slowed down. They've had to find a second job and they just decided to kind of wash their hands of things. There were so many agents that got licensed during the height of the pandemic market when everything was super fast, super easy. And they just, are not necessarily wanting to put in the work that they need to in order to have a sustainable business when the market slows down. So we're seeing a lot of that. But the agents that I've spoken with that have, kind of maintained their business and have continued to be very successful are ones that really focus on educating clients, educating their community, being part of their community by hosting events and just, getting their name out there and building those connections with consumers with their sphere of influence. A lot of people are still obviously using a real estate agent. I think the data from the National Association of Realtors show that it's, well over 80% of home buyers still use a real estate agent to transact. And this number has actually increased since kind of some of the portals like Zillow, Redfin have become, more mainstream over the past, 25 years or so. So that kind of, to a certain extent, debunks this idea that all of this technology will replace the real estate agent. And it's, it's a super emotional process of finding a home, and it's very intimidating as well. And we're seeing among younger generations that while they are far more comfortable with technology than older generations, they still want that help and they still want that human connection as they navigate this process. So, of course, we're seeing agents really lean into technologies like AI, using things to create marketing collateral, also to do, AI assistants to do back end office work and things like that. But this then frees up their time to work on building those connections, building those relationships, and kind of fostering their business by focusing on the human aspect of it.
Got it. You mentioned something about mergers, and we are seeing more mergers, right? Recently, I believe Rocket is buying what
Redfin and Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Cooper. So that those were two big purchases, one on the servicing, one on the consumer side on a
Mhm.
and so how will that affect the market trend? What are they going to use those for?
Rocket has been very clear that it wants to kind of create this one-stop shop. And, it's that goal of kind of the Amazon of housing, as so many phrase it, has been one that's been in play for a long time. They want to be able to capture the consumer at the top of the funnel from their home search process, get them pre-approved for a mortgage, get them with a real estate agent, find them a property, close the property, do the title search and title insurance all within kind of that one platform. And, that's definitely Rocket's goal. Their investor deck kind of shows exactly that visual that I just described. They're not the only ones chasing after this. I mean, Zillow has been kind of going after this goal with their housing super app that they've been really pursuing since the shuttering of their iBuying operation in November of 2021. And we've also seen a lot of others kind of really focus in on that. If you talk to some of the legacy brokerage operations like Home Services of America or even Howard Hanna, they have all of these in-house real estate services from, mortgage, home warranty, title insurance. And so they might not necessarily have like the sleek online platform that, some of these folks are really building out or already have, but they already have all those services in-house. Been an ongoing process, but we're seeing really a ramp up in that streamlining of the home buying and process.
Interesting. Based on everything you've seen, the articles you're writing and you're reading about, what would you like the consumers to know? What's going on today, and what do you think is going to happen in the near future?
Yeah, so the housing market today is definitely a lot slower than it was at the height of the pandemic market. For the most part, nationwide, if you're a home seller and you're expecting, that 2020, 2021 situation where you put, your home on the market for your dream price and get 50 offers and it goes, $150,000 over asking, that's not going to happen. There are some markets that are still pretty hot and you are seeing bidding war situations, but for the vast majority of homeowners in the US, that is not what we're seeing. But despite, the fact that mortgage rates have remained elevated for so long, that we're seeing a lot of economic uncertainty over the past few months with tariffs and things like that, things are remaining fairly robust. We're still seeing, okay home price appreciation. It has decelerated significantly over the past few years, but it's a leveling out. I mean, some markets had, 20-30% annual home price appreciation at the height of the pandemic market. And that kind of growth is just not sustainable. So the fact that we're seeing kind of 0% or even slight negatives in some markets is, obviously not great, but it's not as worrisome considering how much growth occurred over the past few years. Additionally, despite the tough market conditions and high mortgage rates, mortgage purchase application data last week showed a 20% year over year increase and a 10% week over week increase, which is really great to see. Additionally, pending home sales were up year over year last week. But at the same time, we're also seeing housing inventory climb. And it is back to kind of roughly the pre-pandemic level in 2019. Altos research data shows that roughly 800,026 single-family homes were on the market last week, and that's 32% more than this time last year. So, that's definitely good news if you are a home buyer. You have more opportunities to look at properties. The market is not moving nearly as quickly as it once was, and you have a bit more power than you did previously. So If you want to ask for something like the home seller to cover your entire buyer's agent commission, you might be able to get away with that.
Well, thank you, Brooklee. Thank you for all the great information. Thank you for being on the show, and look forward to having you on the show again in the near future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share any questions or comments in the comments below, and follow us on social media. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Let's get together. Let's get to having some fun. Let's do whatever. The night's looking so young. Let's get together. Let's get to having some fun. Let's get together. Let's get together. Let's get together. Let's get together.